Creating brand new themes with Quicker Themes 1.82 is not going to be a problem as far as having all the CSS rules inside your theme. But when updating a theme, please make sure that the latest CSS rules are going to be included with the updated theme. Just to ensure that, go to the export options, and in the WordPress tab at the bottom, make sure the last rule, it says WTC content height. If you don't have this, delete the entire content of this tab, save your artisteer file, and then load it up again, and everything is going to be there. If you have it, then you're fine. You can go ahead and update your existing theme. Again, this is just for existing themes and not a theme that you're just going to create from scratch, brand new one. All right, that much for updating your themes. Let's talk about all the new features that come with version 1.82. I'm going to handle 4 things at a time. So let's start with the shortcodes. There are 3 shortcodes. And as always, you're going to find help regarding the shortcuts from the toolbar general settings and then theme help. You have the PayPal, the read more, and the link box. In order for the PayPal button to work, make sure that it's activated from the customizer, and by default it's turned on. My point over here is that if you're not going to use a PayPal button, personally I'm not, in order for you to have your website running at an optimal level, disable it. Same with the forms, by the way. It's on by default, and the reason I have both of them on by default, if you're using the PayPal button or the contact form and you change themes, you don't have to worry about the form or the PayPal button not working in case you forgot to turn them on. So when you switch themes and you're not using it, go ahead and turn them off again. So in the customizer, you go to the first tab, the site identity. That's where I put my settings, most of them anyways. We have the PayPal button, the user roles. It's new. I'm going to talk about it later on. And of course the contact form. Again, if you're not using them, turn them off. Same with the animation. All right. This is the first part of the PayPal button. The second part, and this is the more important part because it's turned on by default, you need to go to the settings and to the menu that says PayPal button, and you need to complete this form. The first time you use it, you're going to get a warning up here. Don't worry about it. As soon as you put your settings in there and save it, that warning is going to go away. You choose your language, your currency, the email that your email is attached to your PayPal account. If you have a Sandbox account, you put that in there. If it's the Sandbox mode or the payment action, so it's off and it's sale. In this case, you choose your button, okay? You want to open the PayPal in the same window or new window, and then you have your optional cancel URL and return URL. Everything in this page must be done properly, except the places that it says optional. So it's the Sandbox account and also the cancel and return URLs. Everything else you have to properly do it in order for the button to work properly. All right, let's talk about excerpts right now. So by default, WordPress has 2 built-in excerpts. One is the automated one, and then the second one is the manual one. So I'm going to create a sample post. And I'm going to put some sample text. It's 78 words. Now, by default, the way we have our themes is that it's going to get the 55, the first 55 words and show them as an excerpt, and that's done automatically. And you can say read more, and it's going to go to the actual post. By now, you should know that the way you control those excerpts, it's from the customizer. It's the home archive search pages, and this is where you choose all the settings for the automated excerpts. Now, you can bypass at any given time the automated excerpt, and you can put manual excerpt, which is going to bypass again all the automated ones. So if I say XXX, that's all it's going to show in the excerpt. Okay, there's the XXX. Okay, very good. Now, until now, we couldn't use shortcuts in to show up in the excerpts, or we couldn't use shortcuts in the manual excerpts until this version. I have a code in there that now we can use shortcuts in the excerpts, and that's going to be very helpful in certain situations. So this is what happens. So instead of the text, if I have a shortcode, and let's say I put this in a box, the shortcode, it's not going to be displayed in the excerpt, in the automated excerpt anyway. So if I go to the archive page, there's nothing going to be there because there's no text. It's a shortcut. That's all we have, right? So let's go ahead and let's start working with the actual new shortcodes that I have. I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to start with the link box. You can put your link in there with the HTTP or HTTPS setting. If you want the link to open in a new tab or on the same tab, and I'm going to put the link to the homepage, or let's put Google. Okay, and let's open it in a new tab. We can choose an image. It's better if you have a rectangular image, and that will do. Now we can use the width as a percentage or as in pixels. It's better to use as a percentage. That's my personal preference. You're going to see in a second why. But again, either way, it's going to work. The difference between the two is in the responsive use. So, and then you put the title for the link box. And then finally, we're going to put some text in it. And we're going to have a little view of what's happening. Again, we don't have text. The whole post is actually a shortcode. So when we go to the home page, nothing is going to be shown as an automated excerpt. So if we go to the sample box, to the sample post, we're going to see the link box. Now, the URL that we put in, it's going to work whether somebody clicks on the image or on the title. We're going to go to Google in a new tab, the way we specified it, and we have the text. All right, so this is the link box. Now, I'm going to show you the difference between using a percentage versus pixels. I'm going to make a copy of the entire shortcode. And I'm going to change the width from 25% to, let's say, 150 pixels. All right. Now, on a desktop, you're not going to see a difference. But once I start breaking into responsive views, you're going to see what happens. Now, my theme is fixed at 1100 pixels. When the screen becomes smaller than 1100 pixels, the one that I use, percentage, the top one, is going to break into single columns. And the picture is going to be covering basically the entire screen almost. So it's good on small phones to see the picture, as big as possible. But the one that we use pixels instead, it's not going to happen, and it's going to come to a point that it's going to look pretty ugly or not easy to read. This is especially important or more noticeable if I had like 2 or 3 columns and I have 2 or 3 link boxes next to each other, and you break into the responsive modes, and the columns are not going to break until you reach 900 pixels. So that's the difference between the two. All right, let's continue with the next shortcut. Let's get rid of the second box. The second shortcut I want to talk to you about is the read more or read less shortcut. So let me get some sample text. Let me highlight it. Open the theme shortcuts button. If you notice that the button icon is changed now, we're using the same icon as shortcuts by Angie, what used to be known WP Canvas, and I've noticed that there are some other plugins that use the same brackets as well. So in order for it not to be a confusion, I put something unique in there. So we have the square, the four squares as the button, and I'm gonna get the read more. So we've got the read more, and by default you can choose the you can say what's gonna be the label for the more and the less text you're gonna see in a second. And if I want it to be on the left, right, or centered, let's say right. And the color of the links of the text, the labels, the read more or the read less, can be a hexadecimal value or the name of the color. Let's keep it red. And finally, the size, just like above, you can use percentage or you can use pixels. By default, I'm using 80%. All right, so let me update it. Let's see what we have so far. All right, so we have the original link box. We have the read more. When I press it, it opens up and gives us the rest of the text. And then we have read less. We can close it, and that's how it works. All right, the final shortcode is the PayPal button, and that's the easiest shortcut to use of all. So inside the read more, I'm gonna put the PayPal button, so all the way almost to the bottom. We're gonna give it a name. Let's call it sample product, and we're selling it for $50. And let's leave the alignment centered, and let's see what we have. All right, so we have the link box, which opens in the new tab Google. Read more, there's a more text, and there's a PayPal button. If I click on it, it should take me to PayPal. From my email, it should recognize my company's name, which is Valitech Electronics. It's 50 bucks, and if I click on the arrow, it's going to show me what am I buying exactly, what's the 50 bucks for its sample product. And at this point, I can log in and pay, or I can pay with a debit card or credit card, and that's it. Those are the three new shortcodes in action. All right, I'm going to go back to the excerpts. Okay, now if you don't see the manual excerpt box, and by default you're not, you need to go on top right on the screen options and make sure that the excerpts are turned on. All right, once you see the box, you can put now anything you want, including shortcodes, because until now we weren't able to put shortcodes in here. All right, so I'm going to say update, and now this entire link box, which wasn't showing anything on the home page, it's going to be there and it's going to work. As another example, I've got a gallery, and you would think that those are just thumbnail images. Actually, it's a live gallery, so if I click on it, you're going to get the pictures. So that's good. Now, you can put any shortcut you want, from link boxes to call to action, whatever. I think the most usable thing, or the most helpful shortcut we can use in there are YouTube videos or Vimeo videos. So let me do that really quickly to see how simple it is. I'm gonna edit this post really quickly. Get rid of the excerpt that we have. All right, go to the main page and temporarily create a shortcut for a YouTube video. And I've got an ID here ready to go. Okay. I don't want it to autoplay, so leave it as 0. Otherwise, if you want it to autoplay, put it as 1. Now I'm going to cut this. I don't want it on the page. I'm going to take it to the excerpt and update. And if we go on the home page, we're going to be able to see the video. And there it is. Okay, so those are, I just covered 4 things. The how to execute these shortcodes in the manual excerpts, the PayPal button, the read more shortcode, and the link box shortcode. All right, the next thing is the user roles. By default, the user roles are turned off. So to turn it on, you go to the customizer site identity and user roles. It's the this button over here. All right, save and publish. And once we go to the backside now, under the users menu, we're going to get a new menu item called user roles. And you can create new user roles with any permissions you want to give them, or you can edit a user role with this button. So I've got wholesale 1 and wholesale 2, and you're going to see why in a second. So customers, WooCommerce customers, and in this case, in a way, a wholesaler 1 is a WooCommerce customer. The only permission that they have is the read, and anything else is turned off. And once you finish, you update. If you want to create a new role, you have to make sure that you also give it a role ID, which as a habit, the way I do it is that whenever I put the actual name, I use the same user role ID. So I'm going to say sample, and then sample, and then you're going to give whatever user roles you want to give it. and then you say add new, and then, oh, I mistyped it, doesn't matter. So that's over there. Once you make a mistake like this, you can't really change the name. So all you have, the best thing you can do is delete it and then start over again, which I'm not in this case. And then you have an overview of how many users you have in each user role. So I've got one administrator, one editor, two authors, blah, blah, blah. All right, so what are the user roles for? I'm going to be using it for two things. One is for WooCommerce. There is a awesome plugin called Price by User Role for WooCommerce. Basically, you can set the price of an item by the user role. So someone who's logged out, which is basically a guest, can get a different price than an administrator or an editor, a customer, or in this case, I've got wholesaler 1 and wholesaler 2. So really quickly, I'm going to show you how that is done. If I go to the WooCommerce settings, and you can use this in many ways. First of all, you need to enable it. Then I can go to multipliers, and I have to enable the multipliers, and then so the guess is going to be the price. It's going to be times 10, whatever the price it is. Administrators, they're going to see the same price as you put in the products. And for example, wholesalers, wholesale 1 will get 1.5 times, and wholesaler 2 will get 2 times. And this is for the entire catalog, all the products together. Now you can also do it per product. So you can bypass this general rule, and you have to enable it, of course. And then you can do it per product. So if I go to any specific product, if it's going to be disabled by default for each product. So if I turn it to yes and save it, all right, I'm using the free one. I've got limitation over here. And I used it in, anyways, you're going to be able to see all the boxes for each user role, so you can enable it like that. But I guess for the free version, you can only do it only for one product. So it's a shame I couldn't show it to you right now, because I don't remember which product I used it on. Anyways, so, and by the way, this works for variable products as well as simple products as well. So that's one example how I would personally use the user roles. The second thing is that there is a plugin called WP Staging. Basically, what the WP Staging does, it's going to create on the same website, using the same database, an exact copy of your site. And it's called staging, and it's you're supposed to go and it's exactly the same copy of the site, so you can test plugins, you can do things without affecting the actual website. And when you're done with one click, you can delete that sample site or the staging site, whatever it's called. Now, in my case, I'm going to have one of my theme demo sites to have a staging site. So I'm going to have people to play with the themes, to go inside and play with the customizer and create, play with the shortcodes and everything else. And when things get out of hand a little bit, with one button I can destroy the whole thing and then create a new staging. It takes 2-3 minutes to create a new staging environment, and I can create as many staging environments as I want per site. So I'll be using for that. Now, of course, when I give people the right to go to log in, to go to the backside. I want to hide something from them. For example, the ability to add users, rename users, change passwords, the settings, and all that. I just want to give them access to the WooCommerce and the theme option screens, whatever it's related to the themes, more or less. So the user roles is going to be perfect for that. Just create a demo user role and then create a demo user using that user role, and then give them whatever rights you want for them to use that demo site. All right, so that much for the user roles. Now, one last thing about the user roles. There are many plugins, or some plugins, more than one, that does pretty much the same job as the user roles. Some better, some worse, some are more complicated, some are easier to use. But some of them, when you deactivate the plugin, whatever user roles and the permissions you created, they go away. They have to be always active. Not all of them, but some of them. That is not the case with the code that I have in here. So if I go back to the customizer and I disable the user roles, all the user roles, all the user roles with all the permissions are still going to be active, and they're still going to be working fine. I still have a wholesalers, wholesale 2, and the test. That's I created that as well. Now, something about the back to the WooCommerce plugin. So I'm logged in as an administrator. I'm actually seeing the actual prices, $15. Now remember, a guest, someone who wasn't logged in other words, they're going to see the prices 10 times that amount. So if I log out, the $15 here, it's going to become $150. And of course, if I put it in the shopping cart, the price is going to reflect accordingly. If I log in, the price is going to go down to $15. And if I add it to the cart, it's going to be $15. Now, last thing. Oh, if I log out, this thing is able to adjust at any given time that I log in. So over here, if I add it to the cart, it's $150. If I go to checkout, never mind that it says $150 right now. So if I go to proceed checkout, if I log in, it's going to recognize that I'm an administrator, and it's going to change it back to $15, as you can see here. All right, so it's pretty cool. I just found out that the free version, it's got some limitations, which is fine. All right, so now I'm done with the user roles. The next thing that I want to talk, is the reviews. Okay, so you can restrict the reviews from the settings, from the WooCommerce settings page. And you can basically, I think it's under the products. Yeah. So you can disable the ratings and on reviews altogether. Or you can say ratings are required to the review. And you can also control show verified owner label, and also only allow reviews from verified owners, right? But even if I say only allow reviews from verified owners, in other words, somebody has to buy that product for that product to leave a review, that customer to leave a review. Even in that case, even with all those 4 restrictions, as soon as somebody leaves the review, automatically it's going to go live. It's going to be shown on the page. Now, we have better control in that, and it's on by default. you can turn it off, and the entire PHP code for that, it's gonna stop functioning. It's not gonna run. Under the in the customizer, under the WooCommerce, I've got a new button that says manually approve product comments. So and it's turned on by default again. If you can turn it off, as long as it's turned on when you leave a comment to any product. That review, it's not going to be shown, it's not going to go live until it gets approved. You yourself, you're going to be able to see it. Your review is waiting approval. But once I log out, so visitor looking at it, it's not going to be there. So yeah, if I log in and go to the dashboard, I need to approve it. You can do it through the comment screen, or you can do it actually right from the dashboard as well. So I can reply or simply approve. And once it's approved, I'm going to log out again. But it was the first item. I go to the reviews, it's going to be there. All right, and I'm a verified owner apparently. I've bought this product before. All right, very good. All right, so let me log in again. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, I had a customer last week actually that wanted the stars on the product page, but not on the shop page. And of course, those of us who know CSS, is a simple task. But why not put that in the Qt CSS as well? So now that I was coming with a new version, it wasn't, not a big deal to put in there. So you need to have Qt CSS installed and not use the default CSS system settings that come with the theme. So once you install it, you need to go not on the shop page because it's not going to work, but on the Qt CSS menu over here. And the last item at the bottom is going to say wool hydrating stars. And that's going to hide the stars just in the archive pages. So if I go to the shop page, the stars are gone, just have the title and the price and the add to cart button. But if you go into the actual product page, you're going to see that the stars are there. Last thing, Microthemer came with a new version, I want to say a week or two. A month ago, I talked about I had a beta version of it. It was pretty amazing. With the actual production version, it's even better. You have to check out the free version is the full version of the product. You can only save nine items. That's the only limitation. You have to learn it. It's pretty amazing. And I guess that's it for me. I'm looking at my notes really quickly. I think I covered everything. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.